All right, welcome back. It is the Windy Chevrolet Center Game Day Kickoff Show live on the Ref. It's game day, OU and Texas, joined by my buddy now, Brad Kellner of Texas Sports Unfiltered, which he's just doing incredible work over there, he and his team. Go check out Texas Sports Unfiltered, especially OU fans. If Texas loses today, I bet the you'll really enjoy the content tonight and into next week if Texas loses this game. But BK, I'm going to guess, man, that the feeling is Texas is not going to lose this game in Austin. If I had to guess the feeling around your parts down there on the 40 acres, it's probably as optimistic as it's been since around 2009 or so?
I'm not sure if I should thank you or curse you for that promotion you just gave me there, Tyler. But no, you're right, dude. The optimism down here is sky high. And look, Texas fans are usually optimistic going into seasons, but our hopes and dreams are generally crushed by the end of the first month of every year. But this year does feel different. And this is the most talented Texas team since 2009. This is the deepest Texas team since maybe even before 2009. So this team is really good. They're 5-0. They've won every game by double digits. Their average margin of victory is 23 points. Obviously, everybody remembers the big win in Tuscaloosa back in week 2. That was sort of the moment that really put this Texas team on the map. And since then, they have looked really, really solid. So, yeah, optimism, confidence, whatever you want to call it, it is sky high right now in Austin.
I'm going to ask you a question that you asked me earlier this week. Do you think, and as the Texas fans, do you guys think OU is good, or do you think OU's just played a very weak schedule up to this point?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of both, right? Like, I'm programmed to always think OU is good because I'm 29 and like my whole life, basically as a Texas fan, has been watching Oklahoma win the Big 12 every single year. So even like last year, when I knew there were serious flaws with the program and I figured there'd be some issues with the transition from Tebow to Brent Venables, like I still thought Oklahoma was going to win the Big 12. I pretty much pick Oklahoma to at least make it to the conference championship game every single season. So I do think Oklahoma is good. I do have some questions, and I think there are some OU fans who probably still have some questions about just how good this team is. And like if Oklahoma wins this game today, all the stuff that people are saying about Texas, people will now start saying about Oklahoma. Like, oh, this team's going to be favored in every game. They've got a shot to run the table. They can win the Big 12. They can make it to the college football playoff. And I don't think Oklahoma is a top 4 team in the country, but because of the way they've looked, because of what the schedule is, if they find a way to win this game today, they can do something special. So kind of tiptoeing around the question, do I think they're good? Yes. I still have some questions about how good, but they've got enough that I'm a little bit nervous about this game here coming up.
Yeah, on this side, Dillon Gabriel at quarterback's been fantastic up to this point. I mean, I think he's been much better than a year ago, but OU fans there's still a lot that crap on him. And I think it's fair to say that this is probably a legacy game for him since this is his last year at OU. But the point is Dillon Gabriel can shut up a lot of people if he plays well against Texas and wins this game. Where are you guys at with Quinn Ewers? Because it felt like there were maybe some questions coming into the year. I know that he was hyped up nationally. Did that win against Alabama a few weeks ago make everyone say this guy's legit, or are there still some things that need to be answered?
I think it did, but then Texas really struggled with Wyoming the week after that. Now, it was a little bit of a trap game, right, in between Bama and the start of Big 12 play. You can call it a little bit of a hangover, whatever, but for 3 quarters, the Texas offense could not do anything against Wyoming. Now, hey, Wyoming did beat your Mark U, as I like to call them, Texas Tech. So maybe that team isn't that bad. But yeah, after that game, there were some people who were like, okay, well, is Quinn Ewers just a big game quarterback? Does he still have those inconsistency issues that plagued him in the second half of Big 12 play last year after the Oklahoma game? But then since that Wyoming game, right, Texas went up to Waco and beat the brakes off of Baylor. And then they came back last week and beat a Jalen Daniels Kansas team. But Quinn Ewers looked really good in both games. And that was the first time this season. And you can't really count too many instances where Quinn Ewers has played really well in back-to-back games. So the consistency is the thing Texas fans are looking for because he did what he did at Alabama and because he's done what he's done so far in Big 12 play. I feel like there are more answers to those questions now about Quinn Ewers. So is it 100% confidence? No, I don't think so, but this fan base feels pretty good with their quarterback right now for sure.
There's been a pretty sick joke going around up here this week, and OU is honestly, man, it's felt like they've been getting consistently screwed by the officials going back to last year. And I don't know if you watched that Cincinnati game or not. I'm normally not that guy, but there's just so much. Hell, Bob Stoops came on our show last year and said those officials were awful in the Texas Tech game. So if he's saying something like, you feel like there's something going on. But the sick joke has been for OU fans, well, okay, now you play the other team that's leaving to the SEC. How are the officials going to screw you this week? And they're going to call multiple targeting penalties in the second half, so players aren't available for the next game when both teams play. We believe that there's some sort of a conspiracy going on. I don't know. There's a lot of evidence. Do Texas fans feel like Big 12 officiating is out to get them before they exit the conference? Has that been a thing?
Yeah, it's absolutely been a thing. And I think both schools had to deal with this last year too, right? What's the crazy stat? There was only one offensive holding penalty called against a Texas or Oklahoma opponent last year combined. Yeah. Like that was shady last year. And then obviously the fact that this is the final year for both schools in the Big 12 leaves reason to expect more shadiness. So, at this point, Texas has been one of the least penalized teams in college football. I'm still waiting. Like, Texas hasn't played a close game with Big 12 refs yet. Like, they beat the brakes off of Baylor, and then they ran away from Kansas to where there wasn't an opportunity for the officials to make that game-deciding type of call late in the fourth quarter. So at some point, yeah, there's a chance that happens. But yeah, that OU Cincinnati game, that was a joke. And that same crew that y'all had for that one actually officiated the Texas-Wyoming game the week before, which I thought was weird because obviously that was a non-conference game. And a lot of Texas fans were scratching their head, and that was the most penalized game Texas has played this year. And apparently that crew is calling the game today. So that does feel like the Big 12 gave the two schools in this game the worst officiating crew as like one way to really give the middle finger to these schools on their way out. But no, I've heard some of your show and you guys' shows up there. Like it's been a similar topic of conversation around these parts over the last few months. There's no doubt.
When you've evaluated this game throughout the week and you look at Texas' chances to win this game, where do you immediately go to and say, well, this is why I'm the most confident that Texas is going to win?
It's Jonathan Brooks. He's one of the best running backs in the country right now. And it's weird because he didn't even start the year as the starter for Texas. And this comparison is stupid, and I'm going to regret making this as soon as I make it. But I think at TCU last year, Chandler Morris started the season as the starter for them. He gets hurt. Max Duggan comes in, is the Heisman finalist, and TCU plays for the national title. Do I think Jonathan Brooks is going to be the Heisman runner-up this year? No. Do I expect Texas to play for the national title this year? No. But it's just an instance where, like, somehow, some way, the coaches just didn't realize who the better player was. Jonathan Brooks is a monster. He's third in the country in rushing right now. And it just feels like, and I think the stats back this up too. You might know this one off the top of your head, Tyler, but it just feels like whoever can run the ball more effectively in the Red River Shootout wins. Obviously, y'all's run game, that's like the one sort of statistical weakness that OU has through 5 games. And for Texas, the run game has just gotten better and better and better as the year has gone on. And Brooks has really come into his own. So, yeah, the Texas run game, not just Brooks. Obviously, the O-line's been playing really, really well too. But I feel confident that Texas is going to be able to control the ball a little bit, keep Dylan Gabriel and company on the sideline. And I think OU might struggle a little bit being able to slow down the Texas rushing attack.
Brad Kellner of Texas Sports Unfiltered is our guest, talking OU Texas. So the flip side of that, if I were to ask you, like, hey, what's a list, 1, 2, 3 things that make you maybe most concerned about this game, where would OU's wide receivers against Texas defensive backs be?
Yeah, man. I mean, I talked to you before the season started, and I've got a few buddies who are OU fans, and it just felt like the narrative going into the year for y'all was, we have no idea what these receivers are going to look like. And we have no clue if we're going to have any good receivers. Well, it kind of looks like y'all have a few good receivers. I mean, Nick Anderson's just a touchdown machine. Jaleel Farouk, not the fastest guy out there, but he's a crisp route runner. He just gets open. Drake Stoops is 36 years old. It helps when you have all of that experience, I guess. And then obviously the Michigan transfer, Andrell Anthony, like those guys are good. Texas's secondary has played pretty well. I will say this, Ryan Watts, the number 1 corner for Texas, is banged up. No official word yet on whether or not he's going to play. Texas does have enough depth to where there's not a huge drop off if he can't go. But that guy is the Ohio State transfer, played in this game last year. He's a solid player, probably a day 3 draft pick in the NFL. So if he can't go, that's advantage OU right there. And Texas has been, as good as they've been in the secondary, they have been pretty susceptible to the big play. Alabama got him for a couple of deep shots through the air. Kansas with Jason Bean got him with a 56, 58-yard touchdown last week. So, if you give Dylan Gabriel some time, these receivers are good enough to get open. It's not a major concern, but I think Oklahoma is going to be able to have 1 or 2 long passing plays through the air, which can obviously flip the momentum of this game pretty quickly.
This is a big game for OU as a program. It's a big game for Brent Venables. This gives him that kind of resume win, his first big win of his career. Sark has that. Sark beat Alabama. Sark won in Manhattan last year, so he's got a couple on that resume. And what's he, 8-12 overall as a head coach? Most of those losses come in year 1. Where's the fan base at right now with Sark?
It's all gas, no brakes, man. I mean, I know that's his saying, but it feels like everyone feels great about Steve Sarkisian. Now, 5 or 6 hours from now, that might change, but now, people are really buying into what he's selling, and it's hard not to. Like, he has done a tremendous job recruiting. I know Texas has never struggled with recruiting, right? It's not like Charlie Strong and Tom Herman were bringing in like the 50th ranked classes in the country every year. But Sark has made it a point of emphasis to recruit better on the lines of scrimmage, which you think about SEC football, the Alabamas and Georgias of the world, they just dominate up front. And it kind of feels like Texas has an SEC-ready offensive and defensive line right now. So Sark's done a great job personnel-wise. He's also done a great job with his coaching staff, right? That's where Charlie and Tom Herman really struggled. Felt like they hired their friends versus actually hiring guys who could make a difference. The hiring of Pete Kwiatkowski as this team's defensive coordinator, it was a struggle for him in year 1, but the Texas defense is playing at a championship level right now, and they were pretty solid last year too. So that's working. The coaching staff's good. The personnel is good. And then where Sark really struggled last year, he lost the battle of in-game adjustments, right? Texas blew so many second-half leads, and they lost every game they lost last year. All 5 of them were decided by 1 possession. So, it's just like, a play here or there or a decision here or there, and maybe Texas wins 10 games instead of winning 8 games, and they're playing for the Big 12 title instead of playing in the Alamo Bowl for the 400th time. Sark is now winning those battles of adjustments, and he beat Nick Saban in that 4th quarter in the coaching matchup head-to-head there. So, yeah, people feel really good about this guy, man. They really do, and there's reason to, right? I was curious when it started. Obviously, year 1 going down the way that it did with Texas not even making a bowl game, that had my eyebrows raised, and I was thinking, here we go again. But now Sark has done just about everything right, and it's that linear progression. Like you guys are hoping to see it right now with Brent Venables going from 6 wins to we'll see what this year goes. And obviously you're hoping things get better and better. The linear progression hasn't always been there for Texas. It's been pretty sporadic. The fact that this team keeps getting better year after year under Sark, I think is another reason why people feel like they've got the right guy here in Austin.
Feels like both programs are doing a much better job in the trenches, especially with the SEC. I mean, yeah. Colin Simmons for you guys, Anthony Hill, who's playing at backer this year, and, of course, what OU's doing. Yeah, it's coming at the right time with the SEC move coming up. And, man, everyone's just so excited up here. Less 11 a.m. kicks, which I feel like OU gets screwed with that maybe more than anyone else. People hate 11 a.m. kicks. And the home games just suck this year, man. Like, this is the worst home schedule of my lifetime, and I don't even remember the last time OU's had a great home schedule. And they get Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee in year 1. I think you guys get Georgia at home in year 1. What's just the overall excitement level from the fan base just to get out of a crap conference where Iowa State brings 75 fans to Norman last week, and you actually get around some more, I don't know, it just feels like you actually belong in this league with kind of what you're all about. Everyone here is excited. I'm sure they're excited there too, but I don't know how you describe how people feel down there.
No, very similarly. People are pumped. I think people were excited going into this season without knowing how good Texas was going to be this year, but then to go into Alabama and win that game, that just shot the excitement level up a whole nother level. Like now, for me, I'll speak for myself as a lifelong Texas fan and a guy who graduated from the University of Texas. Like, I was excited about every other sport going to the SEC except for football. Like, yes, I was excited about the road trips and the teams coming to town and all of that stuff. But I'm like, dude, we can't compete in the Big 12. Like, how the hell are we going to compete in the SEC? I don't know, basketball, baseball, volleyball, swim, like the other sports, no fear. But football, until I saw what this team looked like, I was a little bit nervous. But now it's like, no, I mean, like we went into Alabama and beat that team. Like I know Georgia has been the team to beat in the SEC the last 2 years, but we all know how good Nick Saban's Alabama team has been. So it feels like now Texas is actually ready for this move, which once again makes me and makes everybody down here way more excited that this thing is finally coming.
Last question I got for you. Is this the last time this year you and I are going to be sitting in front of a microphone talking to each other about an OU Texas game? Like whatever happens today is fine. Are we playing again in early December?
I haven't checked the basketball schedule yet. Are we does conference play start in December this year?
Shit, it may, man.
Volleyball or something? No, I don't think it is, man. And that's kind of the worst part of today, isn't it? Like, it's still awesome. This game always matters, and the atmosphere, you just can't beat it. And it's way cooler at the Cotton Bowl than it is at Jerry World. But I just can't help but think this is the first of two between these two teams. And go back to 2018, where Texas, beat Kyler Murray and OU at the Cotton Bowl. Well, like, not to say that game didn't matter, but Oklahoma got its revenge in the conference title game and then made it to the playoff. Texas still made it to the Sugar Bowl that year, but like, it felt like you guys got the last laugh because y'all won the conference championship game. So, of course, whoever wins today is going to be bragging, and rightfully so. The Golden Hat is what it is. But it's like, yeah, I expect these two teams to be playing in December. I think for Texas, honestly, it's because I think Texas is good enough, regardless of result. And for Oklahoma, look, I think y'all are good, but not having to play K-State this year, which has obviously been y'all's kryptonite, like just looking at the remaining schedule, you guys are going to be favored in every game that you play. So, long-winded answer to a yes or no question. But yes, I do think you and I will be talking again in early December leading up to Texas OU Part 2.
Normally, digs to Texas around here received quite well. It's the only time where I've seen someone publicly say something negative about Texas, and OU fans got pissed when Yormark said what he said. Go beat their ass again, basically, to Texas Tech fans. So no one is rooting for Texas necessarily, but there's this feeling of, well, if it's OU and Texas in the conference championship game one last time, it'd be kind of funny to give Yormark the middle finger. And I agree with that.
I'll say it. I'm rooting for Texas, Oklahoma again in December. Like I had never root for Oklahoma except for this year because, well, I don't think Yormark's going to be giving out the trophy. I think he's going to have COVID that day. And, like Mark Tatum's the deputy commissioner of the NBA. Like, I think whoever the Mark Tatum equivalent is in the Big 12 office is going to be the guy who gives out the trophy to one of these two teams because Yormark is too soft to do something like that.
He is Brad Kellner, calling BK, Texas Sports Unfiltered. Go check them out on YouTube. BK, you the man. Enjoy the game today.
You too, brother. Appreciate the time.
All right, man. I appreciate you as always.